super excited about that. But today we are going to focus on culture and family life, family culture rather, and also leadership. So these are some great lessons that we get to dive into. Super excited about it. And so we're going to have great conversations because you guys always have great ideas, great concepts and ideas to share. And I love how we all interact in this course. So the first thing we're going to talk about, if we're talking about culture, we got to know, what is culture? Okay, so that is the question on the floor. So I'll put that in our sharing space. What is culture? What is culture? Think about that. What is culture? Well, for me, culture for me, my definition of culture personally, it doesn't have to be anything big and extravagant. Culture can be simply the route that you take to go to the grocery store every day, the route you take to get to school or go to see grandma, or iPhone versus Androids. Okay, that is a culture. We have Android users, we have iPhone users, right? So culture is also, about race and ethnicity and embracing those beauties in all of the differences that that's here on the earth. Those who love dog lovers or cat lovers, that's a culture. Those who are left-handed or right-handed is a culture. So culture for me, my definition culture is really the human experience. Everything that we go through here, our ideas here on earth, and also even in the spirit world, is a culture. The ideas behind that is in the culture. So culture is just the human experience, and I think it's so beautiful, in which we get to dive into culture. We get to share culture. We get to learn new cultures. We get to share our own cultures with others, learn new cultures, be culture. So I think culture is such a phenomenal element of the human experience. So culture is a matter of making distinctions, meaning making diversities, differences. It is a way not only of signifying inclusion, but also by extension of significant exclusion. Culture connotes some kind of collective systems of meaning, and it is on the nature of the collective that much attention has been focused. So, basically this is saying that culture is something that is a collection of similarities, of systems, or things that people can identify with as a whole. And they hold on to those things. They hold on to those differences from other collections or systems that other people identify with. And they identify those specific elements that are dear to them, and they hold on to that, and they identify with those things for whatever reason. Okay, culture is just that. It's something that we can identify with, and see the similarities in it, and we collectively embrace those things. And then also cultures also identifying those differences, and creating lines of respect and celebration in those differences. So culture is a very powerful thing that we as humans get to indulge in. I think it's so wonderful that we get to do that. And also, culture is a cluster of intangibles and tangible aspects of life passed down from generation to generation. So these things can also, again, be passed down from your mother to you, your grandmother, your great grandmother to your grandmother, to your mother, to you. So these things can also be, passed down from, you as the caregiver, passing these different elements of culture to another generation, a child that's younger than you. So it's not even having to be in a family, but just pass it down to another generation, age bracket, sharing those collection of similarities and differences, and passing those things down for others to share and to be a part of, or to be become knowledgeable of. So that is culture, guys. So what is culture to you? What does culture mean to you? Do you guys, have any types of cultural backgrounds from your family? What does culture mean to you? Are there some significant things that you would like to share about your family? If so, I'll put the question in our sharing space on OutSchool, and you get to share those things. You can take pictures and put them in the chat if it's something significant, or maybe it's a family picture or a artifact, maybe a quilt or something like that that was passed down to your parents. But whatever it is, you get to share it. You don't have to, it's an option. But and again, it doesn't have to be anything big and significant. It could be a memory that you have. Remember about Dr. Bronfenbrenner, that all of that has to do with the culture and society. When we talk about culture, we definitely can talk about Dr. Bronfenbrenner. We just, had homework on that and a lesson on that. So, the chrono system, it can be anything in your chrono system. What are some significant memories that you have that maybe you're still doing those things even now as a tradition? So, so share those things in our discussion in our sharing space on OutSchool. And when we're talking about culture, there's a theory called the Iceberg Theory. I don't know if you have heard of this. If you have, awesome. If you haven't, awesome. So this is something new, a new concept. So the Iceberg Theory, very interesting theory. And so when we talk about the Iceberg Theory, we're talking about an iceberg. Just, in your memory, think about an iceberg, and the iceberg is piercing through the ocean, like the Arctic Ocean, or so just think about that, and think about how we see a lot of the iceberg piercing out of the water. But in reality, most of the iceberg is really at the bottom of the ocean. You have to dive deep to see all of the beautiful body of the iceberg. And so it is with culture. A lot of times we just see the surface of culture, or the surface of the iceberg. We have certain holidays we celebrate, like Cinco de Mayo, or Christmas, or Hanukkah, or some people, celebrate resurrection, or Easter, or St. Patty's Day. All those are great. Those are great aspects of culture, but they're very surface. They're very surface. And sometimes these things are commercialized and watered down. Sometimes we don't even know why we're celebrating these things. But they're all great. It's nothing to take away from that, because it's great. But it can become surface. So those things that are considered surface, such as holidays, behaviors, certain words that we use. Sometimes we use words we don't even know the background or the meaning behind them, or different customs that we do here in the States. Sometimes we do it because this is just our culture. Sometimes it's not even explained. And some of those things are very surface, but you want to understand the background. You want to understand history. You want to understand the relationship of these different elements of culture. And we do that by deep diving and asking questions, getting research, exploring and experiencing these things, so that we can better understand these parts of culture. And that's what we have to do with our families. When we are interacting with our families, we should not make it into something that's very surface. We want to dive deep and see the rest of that beautiful iceberg. So you want to dive deep and have deep dive conversations with your families and establish relationships with them so you can better understand how they see the world and how they operate in the world. It's important to understand that so that you build lines of trustworthiness between your families, that they feel a sense of belonging in your business, that you feel a sense of belonging as they share their ideas and of culture with you, and you share ideas with them. So dive deep. I invite you guys to dive deep and to really build relationships with your families and think about the iceberg. So it says the iceberg theory compares culture as an iceberg. The 10% above water is really visible to everyone who looks in that direction, and the 90% below the water is the parts that we do not always get to see, or we don't always get to really dive deep and look into. But I invite you to do that as early childhood providers, as babysitters, as educators. Super important, super important. So just, keeping that in mind about culture. Okay, so here are some things to think about. There are different types of culture, many different types, but I only chose 3 because these are more familiar with what we do every day, we see every day. We're pretty familiar with these every day, and especially with family culture. So family culture is really the most important to the child. Remember, we talked about Bronfenbrenner and how the microsystem is the most influential system that influences the child. So family culture is very important to children. A family gives the building blocks to children's self-esteem and how they see themselves in the world, and how they see others, and how they perceive others, and how they see themselves in the world as well. So family culture is super important. And that goes with, a family set of values. What is valuable to them? What is important to them? Is it their religion? Is it them being together, being in unity? Is it, making sure that they're financially stable, making sure that their children are having the best benefits to life? What are those set values? Family life also helps children to understand the world in and around them. And they get those ideas, and those ideas are passed down from their parents to them. What is normal in their family, is Lucky Charms, a normal cereal that they eat, or Fruit Loops, or eating rice, for every mealtime. What is the norm for them? Is it normal for them to always go for a walk every evening, or whatever, doing yoga as a family? What's the norm? Beliefs, what are their belief systems, or what don't they believe? What do they believe in? So family life is very, very important. Then we have materials, which is just as it's read, materials are things that are tangible, that we can use our 5 senses. So anything like artifacts, clothing, food, buildings, people, those are things that, people's clothing are things that are considered as material, physical things. And then you have non-material things, which are ideas, rules, regulations, behaviors. Those are things that we cannot touch. Okay, so these are the 3 types of culture. So just think about the things that you interact with within these 3 types of culture. What's important to your family? What are your family norms? What are your set of values that that's in your family? What's important to you? What materials are important to you? Is it your house? Is it your phone? Is it favorite shoes that you wear every day? Who's important to you? And then non-materials. What non-materials are important to you? What rules or ethnics or beliefs, or how do you see your world and the ideas that you grasp? What are important to you? So these are the different types of culture. Again, material, non-material, and family culture. All right, guys. So one of the things that all right, so one of the things that we get to indulge in to help us to understand culture is a concept called cultural relativism. And so cultural relativism is pretty simple. It's a concept that we do nearly every day, but sometimes we don't realize we're doing it until, somebody's pointing it out, like me, pointing out to you this idea and this concept. So we're going to get into cultural relativism. Oh, she's so cute, her mommy and the baby. Cutie pies. So cultural relativism. What is cultural relativism? Has anybody heard of the word cultural relativism? If you haven't, it's cool. If you have, cool. So basically, cultural relativism is really looking at culture, looking at society in the eyes of other people without having any, biases or like, ew, yucks, or this is weird, or I don't really care. I believe this, that, and third. So, you're really looking at culture in the eyes of someone else. You're putting on their glasses, you're taking in their own scope of how they see the world, how they operate in the world, their behaviors, their attitudes, and you're taking those things on, and you're really gathering data to understand people and the way they operate and see the world. And it's really a fascinating concept. And these things can help us to eliminate different biases. And it will also help us to understand, a culture that's different from ours, understand their behaviors, what traditions are they, into, and other different type of social factors that may be important for that culture, that individual. So cultural relativism is really something that is fascinating, and we all get to get into cultural relativism. It is something that's totally cool, and it's something that we should all experience because we're all super different. So, and it's a beautiful thing. Differences are beautiful. So one example that may come to mind about cultural relativism is something called polygamy. Polygamy is when one man marries many women, and this is practiced in many Western, Eastern cultures, and also here in Western cultures as well, in the United States and other places. And so this can be a type of taboo type of marriage, and then others think this marriage is fine. It's done within their culture. It's like breathing air. And so people have their opinions and their views on polygamy. And so really, polygamy is something that is quite different from other people, ways of thinking about what marriage really is. So, even if you do have a bias against it, well, not really a bias, but you don't really agree with this type of arranged marriage, it's okay. you know, with cultural relativism and culture, you know, some things we're not always going to agree on. And I think it's okay too, to be, to have your opinion about it, and your ideas about that. But it really comes down to the line of respecting people and how they see the world, how they view the world, and taking that data and those differences and say, hey, okay, this is the reason why, you know, people choose to do this. And, you know, and you don't have to like it. It doesn't have to be something that you agree with, but it's something that you get to take in information about that person and respect their ideas of how they live, and respecting them as individuals and respecting their culture. And we're all different. We all see the world differently. And so that's the beauty of the world. That's the beauty of uniquenesses and differences and diversity. So polygamy is one of those things that, you know, it is a family culture. And so it can be very political. It could be very, it could bring a lot of biases and not all great things, but then there are some, you know, for some people, and then there are some great things about the reason of this arranged type of family life. So this is cultural relativism. You get to use that concept when you are engaging with your families. Maybe you have a family that they're vegan, or maybe they are of another religion or another culture, another race, you know, and so you're curious about it because it may be different from you. And the most simplest and most respectful thing is to ask. If you don't understand something, if you are not used to a certain culture, a certain way, or just ask the parents. You know, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So you want to be respectful. And 9 times out of 10, they're happy to share you know, the differences of their culture, you know, because they're proud of it. It's something that they're proud of. And, you know, and 9 times out of 10, they'll share those things, and they'll be appreciative of you asking that, because it shows that you actually care. So keep cultural relativism in mind, guys. All right, so I will have questions just on cultural relativism, on what you think about cultural relativism and why it's important to you, you know, and your thoughts on it. So I'll have a question or two about that in our sharing space, okay? So I am going to get out of that, and I'm going to kind of switch some gears here. Give me 1 minute. Okay. I'm going to show a video about culture. What is culture? So give me a moment. It's loading up. Again, this is a video on culture. What is family culture? And also I will have this in our sharing space in case you guys cannot hear this. I'm taking a big risk because I don't know if you can hear it very good. So, but I'll have the video in the link in our sharing space.
My name is Diana Waring, and I'm glad you're here. Today, I'd like to talk about creating your family culture. Not about all the ways your kids are distinct from you and, you know, why can't you be more like your brother? We have already dealt with some of that in Puppy Paws and in Enjoy Your Kids. But today, let's talk about how we can be intentional and strategic in creating our family culture. Focus on the things that make us the Smith family, or the Chong family, or the Waring family, or fill in the blank. But there's something unique and wonderful about what unifies your family, the things you have in common, the things you enjoy doing together, and the things that make you, those things that make your family distinctive. And these are a significant part of establishing your child's identity. Having a good grasp of who you are is a big deal. Knowing where you've come from and the unique family you belong to is a vital component of children transitioning into adulthood. So what do? How do we enhance and strategize our approach to family culture in an authentic way, in a way that blesses our kids? I like to think of it as going to your cupboard, opening the doors, and seeing what's there. What kind of ethnic heritage do you have? What things do you love to do with your family? It's the combination of these things that helps to create your family culture. So let's look at both. First, what ethnic group are you or your spouse from? Do your parents or grandparents speak a different language at home? Are there special ethnic foods that belong to your family's heritage? Do you celebrate holidays in ways that fit your ethnic background? I remember visiting with a young woman in Hawaii whose heritage was Native Hawaiian. She was so excited to introduce my family to some Hawaiian homeschoolers who were also Native Hawaiians. We drove along the beautiful coast of Oahu while she described this family, whose father was a pastor. When we stopped at a beach, she excitedly pointed out to some folks who were surfing and said, "There they are." I loved it. In surfing, this homeschool family was celebrating their ethnic heritage as Native Hawaiians. Not all of us have this in our cupboard. My heritage comes from the British Isles, but such a long time ago that there's no real memory of that in my family. We have some stories from grandparents and their relatives, but it's back there, it's vague. Our stories, though, are different, you and I. So let me ask you, is an ethnic heritage part of your family culture? If so, celebrate it. Teach your kids where they've come from. Help them learn the language, to honor their heritage and to embrace the distinctives. Enhance your heritage by sharing it with your kids. Next, what things do you do that you love? To get you started, let me suggest some possibilities. Do you love reading or art or cooking? Do you love politics or sports or hiking or knitting? Do you love animals, gardening? Do you love camping? This is a very unique area specific to you. It's what's in your cupboard. There are no right and wrong answers here. It's just to help you think about what you bring to the family. Then, if you're married, ask your spouse to go through this same exercise. When you have the combined list, think about the wealth of things you have to share with your kids. These things are part of the distinctiveness of you. And as you strategically share your love of these things with your kids, they can enhance the distinctiveness of your family and become part of your family culture. So for instance, in our family, my husband and I both love music. He was a music teacher and I was a folk singer. So when our kids were little, we played a variety of music for them. And as they got bigger, I started teaching them to sing in rounds, like row, row, row your boat. And it got a little more extensive after that. Our kids took in our love of music, and in time, it became one of the most distinctive Waring family traits. We love to sing together in 4-part harmony, and we do it as often as we have the chance. But again, our stories are different. So let me ask you, what are the things you love doing? Once you have your list, ask yourself, how can I share this with my kids in a way that allows them to enjoy the experience? Be intentional and be strategic with this. If you love to read books, create a family culture of reading books together by reading a book out loud that everyone can enjoy, or by putting a dozen different books on the table and inviting everyone to choose the one they want to read. Add some comfy blankets and tasty snacks, and there you go. Or if you love camping, strategize how to introduce your kids in such a way that they might come to love it the way you do. What would delight your kids' hearts on a camping trip? S'mores come to mind, just saying. Take it nice and slow, not demanding that your kids enjoy this or that, but welcoming and inviting each one into the things you love. By the way, some things are going to become part of your family culture, while other things may just remain your own hobby, and that's okay. We'll keep talking together about how to do this parenting, homeschooling thing. There's a lot to learn. See you next time.
All right, guys. So she gave some great information about family culture and things that families do or can do. If you just as she's expressed about her culture, some things about her culture, about the British Isles, were a little bit vague, and some stories were not weren't as strong, and they didn't have all those memories back then. But she found a way to create her own family culture, her own family heritage, and shared ideas with her family. So she gave some great ideas on what you can do to create culture for your families, and you can do that too. And it's very significant that I found this video because it is about homeschooling. And so you guys will be in home settings, so you can create your own culture with your children, and do some of those things like make s'mores and movies on, if you babysitting on Fridays, or popcorn, or if the children are old enough to eat popcorns, that could be a choking hazard, so we got to watch that. But if they're older kids, or make s'mores with them, do art, so you can create your own culture as well. So that's something to really think about. I think she made some really great and valid points about culture. So think about that. Think about what kind of culture are you going to create with your little ones as you go on your babysitting sessions. How will you create that? Set your intentions and your learning objectives on what are you going to pass down to that child. And think about the concept of the cupcake. What memories are you going to pass down? What cultural memories are you going to pass down to give to the children? So that was something. I think this video was really, really good. So what's your thoughts on the video? Just place your thoughts in our sharing space about the video. I'll put the link, and then you can just respond accordingly. And I'm hoping that you guys could hear it pretty well. If not, of course, I'll just put the link in there, and you can view the video. If the video sounds choppy or something is going on, just fast forward this and watch the video on your own. All right, guys. So yeah. So diversity and inclusion in childcare babysitting. So again, what is cultural diversity? So as you know, as we've been talking about culture, cultural diversity is another thing that we also have to consider about the differences in each other's culture and embracing those things. And again, sometimes we don't always agree with those differences, and they may seem different from our own ideas and concepts of culture, but that is what makes the world so beautiful. So what is cultural diversity? Has anybody heard of that concept? If you have, just think about what that means to you. But the definition is what I found. Is a lot of different definitions, but this one really stood out. It's having a heart and a mind that acknowledges, accepts, values, and even celebrates the various ways that people live and interact in the world. It's answering the question, what is cultural diversity? So what are your thoughts about what cultural diversity really is to you? Also, cultural diversity of multiculturalism is based on the idea that cultural identities should not be discarded or ignored, but rather maintained and valued. So in other words, it's a way that we should embrace those differences. It's a way of how we should respect those who are different from us, and maintain that, value those things which are different from us. Also, diversity in households. And as you know, we're going to be, really getting into these different diversities in households. Everybody's household is different, right? And so diversity is something that is a good thing. Being respectful of others' diversity also means recognizing how your own culture and beliefs might affect how you get along with children who are different from you. Respecting diversity is a great way to model and respect, and courtesy will help you become a better communicator. So again, anything that's different from what you're regularly used to in your own family culture or culture as a whole, if it's different from you and the family, always, always, always ask. Again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So you want to be respectful, but I think it's so important to create those deep dive relationships with your families, build those bonds, build those relationships between you and the family and the child. Everybody wants to feel inclusive. Everybody wants to feel respected, have a sense of respect and feel respected and be in a position of respect. And everybody is different. No one is exactly the same. We can find likenesses and similarities, but there are always some type of slight difference. Like I always like to use the example of the apple pie. There are 100,000 ways to make the American apple pie, and all of them are unique. All of them are, beautiful. Some more yummier than others. That's the differences. Some may use a little more cinnamon than others. Some may use homemade pie crust. Some may use Pillsbury pie crust. Some may use create an apple pie like a fried apple pie, so they're all different. Some use lattices, some use a whole sheet of dough over their apple pie. Every apple pie is different, and that's the beauty of the apple pie, that we get to experience those differences, but it's still an apple pie. We're still human. We are still different apple pies. We have good things about us. We have different things about us, but at the end of the day, we're still human beings, and we're still different and beautiful, just like the apple pie. And so, yeah. So differences in households. So we want to take heed to that. And again, have those deep dive conversations with your parents. Okay. Now I'm gonna say this quote, which is pretty cool. Respect and follow all household rules, even if they're different from your own. The children will be happier, feel more secure, and behave better if you follow their usual routines, which is so, so true. And ask the parents, what are the routines that you guys do every day? Carry those routines over. And even if you have some rules and regulations of your own, that's fine too, because you're there to keep the children safe. You're there to give to them knowledge and even to share culture. And children would get all of that. Children are adaptable. So, but you definitely want to make sure that you are following the rules of the house and respecting those as such. Okay. Yeah, so that's really important. So, we're going to show a video about different cultures from different families, which is always super, super cool. So I'm going to switch and share my screen with you. Okay, so here is our movie, our video, different family traditions in the world.
This is my son, Kai.
Heyo.
Heyo. In Brazil, parents do pierce their baby girl's ears, and I'm so happy I got mine pierced as a baby because I don't remember the pain, and I did pierce my daughter's ears for that reason.
After giving birth, you have to, you drink something called miyoku for 100 days.
It's made with seaweed, and it's known to have a lot of iron in it. So
Yeah,
if a mother has just given birth, she's lost a lot of blood,
It replenishes
and so
the
it
blood.
replenishes your hemoglobin.
You have that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Miyoku.
100 days.
So in China, there's this thing called 坐月子. It's a nightmare. We went through it. It's basically you have to sit through the month You're not allowed to wash your hair. This is after you give birth, by the way. This is not me.
You just don't get out
Of the bed.
off the bed, other than you need to go to
The bathroom. Yeah.
bathroom and stuff.
It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And I don't know anyone that enjoys it, but everyone does it.
Yeah,
Everyone does it in China, for sure.
In Sweden, we're outside no matter the weather. This is a cold country for quite many months of the year.
Yeah, and we have a Swedish saying, there are no bad weathers, only bad clothes. But it rhymes in Swedish.
In Iceland, it's obviously pretty cold during the winters, but for ages, Icelandic women let their kids sleep outside. And the oxygen flow can get into the baby carriage, and that's the main benefit of sleeping outside. And Icelanders have been doing it for centuries. It's really good for you.
One of the more pervasive things is evil eye or bad eye, that somebody is going to look at your child with a bad eye and there'll be some sort of issue. You'll see babies with these little black beads on their wrists called jet beads that are supposed to kind of ward off the evil eye when they're really small like that.
In South Africa, baby wearing is a very, very popular way of carrying your child. You know, if you have like a towel, many women use towels or blankets or just some kind of big fabric to carry their child on their back.
We have a really interesting tradition is that on their first birthday, we will put a lot of furniture in front of him and let him pick, and whatever furniture that he picks, we can base on that to predict his future career.
In the UK, there are lots of people who will have a naming ceremony. However, because we have a very rich Christian culture through the country, a lot of parents will actually baptize or christen their children and their babies as well. So I guess that's kind of like a naming ceremony, but with the religious slant thrown in, the religious tradition thrown in. That's probably a better way of saying it.
In Japan, all of mom keeps baby's umbilical cord in the wood box. I don't know why, but my mom did for mine, and I'm doing it for my son too. Inside, like this, a little bit gross.
Some women save the umbilical cord after the baby drops it and then put it inside of their handbags to good luck for the baby's health.
In China, diapers are kind of a new thing. And you'll see grandmothers holding babies over like a tree or the side of the road, peeing and pooping. They train babies by noise, so shh means it's time to pee and kids will pee.
Yeah, we actually got trained after 1 month old or 2 month old. That's really bad for us.
You'll hear like older women in the streets going shh,
yeah,
trying to make the baby pee in the road.
Even my parents do trying to train my baby like that. It's a big no-no.
We have to find a stone in any shrine or temple, and we touch the stone by chopsticks. And then we touch our baby's gum with chopstick, and we wish for our baby's teeth grow strongly and really well.
The tooth fairy is extremely prominent in the UK, and it's up to like £3 some people. I remember getting like 10p when I was a kid. So yeah, I think her rates are rising with the inflation. Maybe she's a bit worried about Brexit. I don't know.
Wow. Wow, guys. I love watching this video. Like every time, it's so cool to me. Just watching that video and hearing about the different traditions. So tell me, what's your favorite tradition? I will put the link in the chat for this video, and share your favorite tradition on what you heard. And also you can share your own, tradition that you do with your family. Again, it doesn't have to be anything big or significant, but did you identify with any other traditions that were spoken of by the families? So I love this video. Such some awesome information. Love it. So I can't wait to hear you guys' responses on that. So yay. Okay, guys, so I do have a really cool activity. This is called a mnemonic. And so mnemonics are really cool. So you take a concept like a word. I use Genesis. And so this is the first book of the Bible. Not trying to bring anybody into religion, please. None of that. This is just an example. So the word Genesis is Genesis. And so each word of, each letter in the word Genesis, as you see the word, for example, E is evil. So evil has to do with the book of Genesis. And so for the letter E, I said evil. So that has to do with the book of Genesis. So in each letter of the word Genesis, it has to do with the concept of Genesis. So G is for God, E is for evil, N is for nature, E is for Eve, S is for sea, as you can see the picture of the sea. L is for love, because Adam and Eve loved each other. And then S is for the snake. So, and so it is, so with, we're going to use, instead of Genesis, we're going to use the word culture, okay? And make our mnemonics out of culture. So think about the concept of culture. What word begins with C that has to do with culture? What word that begins with the letter U has to do with culture? What word with the letter L has to do with culture? T, the R, the U, and the E. What words have to do with the letter culture, with the word culture that begins with each one of these letters? Now, U is always the most difficult for everybody. So I'll give you an example. So when I think about culture for the letter U, I think about the word, excuse me, it's supposed to be a equal sign, the word umbrella. Okay, so umbrella. The word umbrella is used for umbrella. So that's something that we use in our culture, right? So you get to use the word culture and think about words that begin with each letter of the word culture that has to do with culture, okay? And again, I gave you one, the letter U, all right? Okay, so I will put this, I will get the link to this worksheet. I'll copy this link. Everyone be able to access this link, and you can do this activity and just post it in the chat in our sharing space. And again, this is about culture, 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 guys. All right. Cool stuff. So I can't wait to see what you guys get to share in the chat on your culture mnemonics. All right, so cool stuff. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to the PowerPoint. I'm trying to think which one I want to use. Yeah, Cupcake PowerPoint. Let me reshare my screen as well, so I make sure that you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay. All right. Okay. Y'all know it'd be taking a long time to load. All right. So we are going to talk about leadership. So let's talk about our roles, our description on what we should be doing as leaders or as caregivers. What should we be doing? What are some of our roles and responsibilities as caregivers and babysitters? So I listed a couple of things, and you can think of some things to yourself, it is some food for thought that you want to get to, think about. So here are some responsibilities that you will definitely be doing. You'll be feeding at some point, and maybe perhaps cooking. If you can't cook, please make sure you tell your parents that you can't cook, so that they will have meals prepared for you. And maybe you can just do a quick microwave, or a sandwich or something. Also, performing like housekeeping. You want to make sure that, when the children are playing or eating, that you're cleaning up after the children. Super important. Putting the dishes away, washing the dishes, whatever. And then, doing laundry. Not always you'll, do laundry. You don't have to, but you can certainly, if you want to, create what we call an add-on service, and you can charge $5 a load to wash laundry if you wanted to. But it's not always customary to do laundry, but you could. Changing diapers, of course. You may have an infant or a toddler or a 2-year-old, 3-year-old that's still in pull-ups with diapers, and got to change those. Preparing bottles. If you are an infant lover, an infant teacher, and you love infants, babies, or toddlers who are still bottle fed, it's imperative that you ask the parents to make the bottles. Okay, please ask the parents to pre-make them for you. If you are babysitting and you get to be at an age that you're driving, 16, 17, 18, you can transport kids. You can charge parents for gas or mileage, and take them to and from their soccer, or pick them up from school, or take them to appointments. And then helping with homework, making snacks, and getting kids ready for sleep times or bedtimes or naps. So those are they. Can you think of anything else that you might be doing as well? So leadership just comes with the territory as you are caring for children. And so there are type of leadership skills that you get to dive into, or what we call flex into. And sometimes you're going to flex into multiple leadership skills without even knowing it. And not just with the kids, but just also for your business. You have to make decisions that will be beneficial to you and your business, or your business, your family, or your children. So you'll be flexing in and out of these different leadership skills. These are just some leadership skills that are super important, and we mainly flex into these type of leadership. So I'm going to go over these leadership skills, and think about these leadership skills as I introduce you to them, and think about what leadership skill that you would primarily work into, and then others that you can flex into. Okay, so the democratic leadership. Okay, so democratic leadership is, for example, if children can't decide whether to go to the park or watch a DVD, you don't immediately, make the decision for them. You allow children to process information, process what's going on in and around them, give them a chance to decide for themselves, and then ask the children to say what they want to prefer. Give them a choice. Allow them to think on their own. It's very important. And so we're flexing into allowing them to be leaders as well, and to also stimulate the cognitive and the psychosocial development of children, right? Remember what we talked about, the 3 developments: psychosocial, biosocial, psychosocial. So cognitive is brain growth, how they process information, how they receive it, input, output, and problem solving. Also regulating their emotions, psychosocial. Okay, so this is giving them a chance to develop in those areas of development, and they get to be leaders as well. So they get to dive into leadership. So that's the democratic style. You know, your hands are off of the situation, and if they can't work things through, then you go ahead and put your hands back in the situation and create a decision that will work for everyone. Okay, so that's the democratic way. And then we have the hands-off leadership, similar to the democratic. But the hands-off leadership is when you take your hands totally out of the situation for a little bit. You know, allow the children to decide, allow them to feel the way that they feel, voice their opinions. You know, for example, maybe, you know, siblings are getting into it, a conflict arises, and, you know, you got a disagreement going on. You know, don't step in right away. Kind of observe the situation and see how they are going to play out their decisions on fairity, or, you know, how they're going to make things fair for everyone. You know, and they come to a decision on their own. You know, if the decision is something that, you know, is safe, it's a good idea, you go along with it. You know, if the disagreement does not come to a head, there's not a decision made that's healthy for the children, then and the conflict is still arising, you know, it's getting really, really heated, you want to put your hands back in. So hands off is similar to the democratic, but, you know, you're allowing the children to think everything through, and, you know, and you are in a position of observation. You're observing what they are going to do. Okay, so yeah, so it's very similar to the democratic style. All right. The sympathetic leader. Yes, the sympathetic leader. This is a leader that is in tune with their emotions and allowing others to be in tune with their emotions too, though. So they operate out of the psychosocial aspect of things, right? So they're not so much of the logical like the democratic and hands-off leadership. You know, they are more so or the more feely type of leader. You know, they really feel, or empathic. Some of them are very empathic. So they're very feely, and they make decisions off their emotions, and hear other people's opinions through their emotions. And so this is when children get in a disagreement, maybe something is going on with them. You know, the emotions are running high, and, you know, little Johnny hit his sister, slapped her in the face, and both of them are crying. Johnny's crying because his feelings hurt and he's going to get in trouble. You know, little Sally's hurt, her face is hurting, she's running to you crying. So these emotions running really high. So as a leader, you sit there, you allow them to express how they both feel. You know, give empathy and sympathy to the child that's hurt, allowing the other child to speak his mind as to why he did whatever he did, talking him through that, letting him know that that's not a good thing. I hear what you're saying, you know, letting him, you know, feel his feels, and then, you know, tell him why that's not a good idea, why he made that decision is not good. You know, let them cry, let them both cry, feel their feelings. And even though Johnny's feeling in his feelings, you still have to make a decision. Some parents like you do time out or take a snack away, or maybe, you know, he gets 30 minutes for quiet time, whatever it is that you have to do to correct the situation. But still allowing them to be in that space of emotions, and allowing them to regulate their emotions and guiding them in that. So that's the sympathetic leadership. And again, you can flex in these leaderships with your parents too, because there'll be times that you have to be an empathetic leader. You're going to be times that, you know, that you'll have to be democratic. You'll have to be hands-on and off. So you'll flex, into those leaderships as well with your parents. And lastly, directive leadership is something that leaders must do if there is an emergency or there has to be a quick decision that has to be made immediately. I kind of had to get in that situation on today when I got my notification about not, being able to attend class. So I had to make a quick directive leadership decision. And so I had to make a quick decision. Sometimes we don't like to do those quick decisions because we can't work those things through. But again, if it's for the safety of you, your children, the parents, or it's something that you have to do that serves you in a way that's going to maintain whatever it is that you need to maintain, that is something that you have to step into a directive leadership style. So, for example, maybe little Johnny is running around outside with a big stick about to hit his sister. So you got to stop him right then and there from doing that, so that is a directive leadership. Or perhaps you've a parent, hasn't been paying you on time, owe you money. You have to make a quick directive leadership type of decision and decide if you're going to, reinstate your services with that parent or, disconnect your services from that. So we're always in leadership as educators, as child caregivers. This is what comes with the territory. So these are the types of leadership. So think about what leadership that you are going to flex into, or what you flex into now. Maybe you're the friend that's super, the sympathetic friend or leader, or maybe you are the democratic leader in your circle of friends, or the hands-off leader, or maybe you're very directive. You're that type of friend that you're going to tell your friend the truth. I know it hurts, but I'm going to tell it to you directly because I care about you. So, think about those things, those leadership. We always are in leadership positions, and you don't have to be in a leadership position to be a leader. Everyone is a leader. Everyone flexes into these styles. Some people, are say they are born to be leaders, and some people are, and some people are born to support leaders, and give their ideas, and that's all great too. They're still leaders, still leadership. So that's something to think about, guys. So I do have a video for you to watch, and I will put that in the link, put that link in our chat as well. Okay.
I like how there's many different aspects to this program.
Hi, you guys. You all eat lettuce in your salads, right? So we're going to be taking out the lettuce today. They all were so eager to eat salad, and usually kids don't want to eat salad, so it was really nice to see them learning and happy to be here.
I really like this program because it tackles hunger and food insecurity in New York, and there's just a lot of different skills that we got here. And we've also had some professional skills today.
The fight to end hunger used to be something that folks in Washington could agree on. The media has an important role to play in terms of what we're aware of. There's a sensitivity that comes up when you're working with people who are affected by this issue. It can be very emotional.
Everyone just ignores poverty as an issue.
It's such a touchy topic.
We talked a lot about underemployment and the working poor, and a lot of people have full-time jobs and they still need snacks.
It's actually for anyone who does have a job but can't feed their family because of mortgage, light bill, gas bill. And I think a lot of people, their pride is really high and they're ashamed to even be on that because they feel like I have a job and I'm not unemployed.
So I think there just needs to be more education, how do you do that?
But maybe
for adults who, it's maybe easier through schools.
17.7% of our entire waste is food. So we think that New York is really big and unmanageable, but you have to think about all the things that we have been able to do. For instance, newspaper recycling. People just do that now, and pretty soon people will just compost their food also. Hunger issues connects to education issues, connects to social justice issues. The program strives to work from one point out and make it bigger and bigger until it's one big piece that doesn't seem too big anymore because you understand all the parts along the way.
I already picked my major, urban sustainability or environmental engineering or something like that.
I've learned about the different mechanisms of hydroponic growing, and that just really inspires me to find new solutions toward our environmental problems.
I will definitely bring projects like this around New York, around the United States. I will spread it. It's what I love.
Wow. Wow, guys, what leadership. And I want to show you that because I wanted to let you know that you are a leader. It doesn't matter what age you are, you can make a difference. You can make a difference in the lives of your children and your families. You can make a difference in your community, and bring things that will serve the communities and your families and your children. And these young people, teenagers, much like yourselves, are doing some phenomenal things in New York. So wherever you are, know that you can make a difference each and every day that you're with your children, that you are creating safety, you're creating education, you're creating opportunities for children to grow and to develop. And then you're creating opportunities for your parents to function, to make their lives easier. So what you're doing is something that is major. Don't take it lightly. Don't take the power that you sit in as a leader, as an educator, as a caregiver. Don't take it lightly. Know your position, understand how your position affects you and your community and the members thereof, and especially our children. So I want to thank you guys so much. This concludes our class lecture. And so if you have questions concerning this lesson, if you need a Q&A, let me know, and I will definitely be glad to answer any questions that you have. Next week, we are going into our framework of creating Cupcake Create. Cupcake Create is our last lessons, our last 2 lessons, and then we begin to create the framework of our business. So I would love for you guys to get a canva.com. That's canva.com, canva.com. Go ahead and get an account for that, because we're going to be using Canva in our next class. So I thank you guys so much. And I apologize for the inconvenience, but I thank you for your participation. If you have homework, go ahead and turn your homework in. If you don't have it for tomorrow, you have the weekend. We have Monday and Tuesday, and you're free to turn it in then. And also I did put a homework pass in there. We don't have any homework for this lesson because I want you to be prepared for next week, which is getting your Canva account, www.canva.com. It's a free platform that you could do marketing, business cards, logos, flyers, and all that good stuff. So if you're not familiar with it, you'll be familiar. If you are, that's great. You're ahead of the team. So you can help others get familiar with Canva as well. Okay. All right, guys, I will see you on next week. And again, if you need me, let me know. And yeah. All right, guys, and I'll put all the questions and links in our sharing space. All right, thank you guys for your time, and I'll see you later next time. Bye. Have a great day.